For years, I had suffered through things that I didn't like and saw on the police department when I was on the job. Ultimately, I decided that I had to lower myself to be a police officer because I really didn't want to be after I had seen all these bad things happening. This video is going to tell you about why, one of the reasons I decided to leave. Hi everyone, I'm Ira Robbins from the Archangels of Justice. Why I decided to leave the police department.
But first, make sure you click the subscribe button below and the bell so you don't miss any new content from the Archangels of Justice. Click, done.
I left the police department because I didn't like the things that I had seen. In one particular case, there was an officer that did all kinds of bad things to people under the guise of being a wonderful individual. He would bring in a lot of drunken drivers, but he drove drunk himself all the time. He would not wear his seatbelt in the squad car and ticket people for not wearing seatbelts. At the same time, he would illegally park to issue parking tickets. He would stop a lot of women drivers for a reason to arrest them and bring them in handcuffs because he just loved to have a power play. Now, one of the things that really bothered me I worked the late shift, which was 11 at night till 7 in the morning. And we had a lieutenant that decided that we should all be riding with the squads, the other police cars, in different cities. In the city, actually, there was a small suburb next to us. And he had us riding along with their squads, one man a night, because we were allegedly going to be trading information with them, and there was really no valid reason. It was absolutely ridiculous. And every one of us voiced our dislike for the assignment, but he made us do it. So when we returned in the morning, we had to write a report as to what our feelings were and what had happened on that situation, on that assignment. And this one officer was writing a report, and we were looking over his shoulder, and we said to him, how can you write that garbage? You're telling him it's great assignment, and how can you do that? You know it's wrong. And he said, have you ever heard of telling them what they want to hear? Well, isn't that wonderful? An officer that can't tell them the truth, he's got to tell them what they want to hear. Well, that is one of the reasons that this guy had a problem. Another particular time, he was in a situation where he put on the radio that he was trying to catch a vehicle. The man had a red bandana, it was a white male driving, and that he was a couple blocks behind him. And he put that on just a few blocks from where these other two officers were just calling back in an assignment. And they saw the car go by, and then a few seconds later, the officer drive by. And they pulled out, and they gave pursuit also. And within a few more seconds, the officer yelled, 66 to dispatcher, he struck a man, the man's laying in the roadway. And just that fast, that driver had killed an 18-year-old kid on a moped trying to cross the street. So when you looked at the report that this officer wrote, he wrote that he had never been closer than 2 blocks behind. Well, that's ridiculous. He said the guy had a red headband and was a white male. How did he figure that out? No, he was baiting that man. He was driving up to the back of him, pulling back and forth. Eventually the man took off. And the officer was really responsible for the death of that young person. So ultimately, they didn't do anything to that officer, and just the city paid $5,000 to the family. They claimed that the officer was doing a wonderful job, and he really wasn't. And that really upset me. That after that individual hit the young man on the motorcycle moped, he traveled 1,982 feet afterwards before he came to a stop. And I know that for a fact because I wrote the accident report. Now, the officer, a short period of time later, was promoted to sergeant, which he was absolutely not worth the stripes of a sergeant. He was involved in one conflict after the other, playing games and doing things that were wrong. And then subsequently, he was promoted to lieutenant. And after being a lieutenant for a short period of time, it was printed in the newspaper that he was running a watermelon and chicken party on the Reverend Martin Luther King holiday. Absolutely a racist thing. So the police department then took immediate action. They demoted him back down to sergeant. But a few months later, they promoted him back to lieutenant again. Well, when I saw that kind of bad things, or those kind of bad things happening, I couldn't reconcile it within me. And there'll be more that I can tell you as we go further along in our videos and podcasts. But it's a real shame, and there's so much of that these dumbbell police officers aren't too dumb because they get promoted because they're not willing to tell the truth, and they do whatever they want. And that's the same philosophy the higher-ups on the police department had when they were police officers.
Do you have any thoughts on the subject? Let us know in the comments below, or reach out to us on Twitter and Facebook. If you want more content, you can check out our website, archangelsofjustice.com, which is updated weekly. You can also sign up for our monthly newsletter. Thank you for watching this latest entry from Archangels of Justice, and we hope to see you back here soon.